Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, January 13th, 2022. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Sinclair Prince, yesterday became the 8th government MP to have contracted COVID-19, forcing Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves to suspend the 2022 budget debate until Friday, January 14th at 9 a.m. The announcement of Prince's results was made by PM Gonsalves in Parliament after the resumption of the afternoon break at around 5 p.m. It must be noted that Prince was present for the morning session of the debate and briefly led the government team in the absence of the Prime Minister, who left to attend to an urgent matter.
The Honourable Minister of Health, who tested this morning on the rapid test, the antigen test, tested negative. He decided that he was going to take a PCR. He took it during the course of the day and informed me in the luncheon period that the result had come back. They did it in a very accelerated manner, and I think the gene expert, I think that's the
Prime Minister Gonsalves then indicated that on advice from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Simone Kisa Beach, all MPs present for the debate in the chamber yesterday were required to have a PCR test done, and that he took the test and was awaiting his result.
Health personnel visited me at the office of the Prime Minister where I took a PCR test. I'm awaiting that result. And other members on the government side who are here would shortly be doing a PCR test with the health authorities who are here. I understand that the leader of the opposition came to the Parliament building, this building downstairs, but hasn't come upstairs. I am not sure whether he was informed by anyone that he and other members of the opposition too, on the recommendation of the Chief Medical Officer, which recommendation I understand, Madam Speaker, you have accepted from your own conversation with me, that all members who are present today in the Parliament to take the PCR.
The budget debate was asked to be suspended for the afternoon session, which the Prime Minister said is only practical, bearing in mind the circumstances.
With the PCR test to be taken and then the results will probably be overnight, it doesn't appear to me to make practical sense for us to continue the Parliament this evening, or indeed tomorrow, because the results for those who are here should be available sometime in the morning. But I have been advised that in the early afternoon, Ministers Caesar and King would be due to have their PCR tests done as they exit their home quarantine. So it seems in all the practical circumstances, it makes sense for us not to sit tomorrow, given all the developments, but that we resume on Friday morning at 9 o'clock.
The Prime Minister informed the Speaker that the budget debate will be extended until Monday, January 17th, 2022, when it is hoped that the appropriation bill can be passed.
Knowing, Madam Speaker, my anxiety to have the appropriation bill passed so that the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who depend so much on this appropriation bill, particularly the poor and the working people, but the nation as a whole, would soon as be able to get the benefits from this appropriation bill. What it would also do, Madam Speaker, assuming that everyone is negative who is here, just making that assumption, it means that we wouldn't finish on Friday. which means that we will go into Monday, and Ministers Francis and Gonzalez would have their exit test, PCR test, done on Sunday, and depending on the result, may or may not be available for Monday. So we are getting our work done, but we are doing it in accordance with the exigencies of the situation and not taking an abstract decision up front.
And all 6 remaining members of parliament on the government side using PCR tested negative for COVID-19. This was revealed by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who called in on Star Radio this morning with the news. The MPs were asked to do a PCR test yesterday by the Speaker of the House based on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer.
That is to say, me, Randy Brewster, James, Kisal Peters, Ashel Morgan, and the Honorable Attorney General, John DeMartin. All 6 of us took the PCR, and the good news on that is that everybody, I was informed early this morning, everyone tested negative.
The Prime Minister said the budget debate will continue with the 6 government ministers tomorrow, Friday, and on Monday. Meanwhile, opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday said the opposition members of parliament will no longer be participating in the 2022 budget debate, which will resume tomorrow, Friday, and continue on Monday. Dr. Friday told SVG-TV News via a telephone interview that he had anticipated the suspension of the debate, which was why they had asked for 5 days. However, this was never taken into consideration, hence their position on not returning to Parliament to continue the debate.
You know, it's always a food situation that we review and revisit, but we certainly, at this point, we are not intending to participate if they have Parliament on Friday. And if 3 members who they had suspended, essentially because they said they had been exposed, are not able to participate. It's critically important that the people participate. Well, we had urged the suspension some time ago. And again, we were yesterday, and the Prime Minister was determined to proceed, even though circumstances would advise otherwise, and certainly we were advising otherwise. So the situation is actually deteriorated, so our position is the same, that the session of the Parliament will be postponed, and if he intends not to do so, then, you know, we will act in our best interest and not participate further.
Dr. Friday is of the view that the rules are being changed in an ad hoc manner and does not sit well with him as leader of the opposition, stating that the government is handling the COVID situation poorly.
Illnesses had implications for the Parliament, and the simplest thing to have done was to keep everyone safe during the Parliament for a reasonable time frame to ensure members to recover and to ensure that there was no risk to other members in the Parliament today. That's a reasonable suggestion. CMO, in my view, ought to have required that, and then we would not be in the situation now. Not probably, we definitely would not be in the situation here now, where there's so much uncertainty, where Parliament is just like it's totally disorganized. You go up there and people are not sure who's in charge. You don't know who's going to be able to be participating any given day when you show up, and then they change the rules willy-nilly every day. You test in the morning yesterday, then they come back in the afternoon at 5:30. You have to go to a PCR test. Parliament is on tomorrow, is off tomorrow. Here it's going to be on Friday, and you're telling me it's going to be on Monday. I mean, it's behaving like you're running a mortgage software, and that's ridiculous. There has to be a lot more consideration for the business of the people to ensure that members can participate effectively, not just the government side, and that the country understands what is being presented in the budget and have the benefit of our response to it. That is not being done right now, and largely it has to do with the way in which the government has responded to this matter of the COVID infection of their members. And that is simply, it's a very, very poor way of handling the situation.
Today on radio, PM Gonzalez questioned why the opposition leader did not agree to take the PCR test yesterday, as was required by the CMO.
Well, Leacock is saying they took a decision that they weren't going to come in to take any PCR. Now, what kind of politics you playing there? You don't want to take a PCR to ascertain whether or not you have the virus. It's not an automatic death sentence. It's very disruptive. And you would have to quarantine and all the rest of it. But surely, you need to know, if you're at your workplace, whether the person who is working there is positive or negative.
Yes.
In managing the risks. Now, in the case, like in Jimmy, you could get tested in the morning. And either the test could be a false negative or false positive, as the case may be. Or it may become manifest a little later in the day.
Dr. Friday said he had his reasons for not taking the PCR test, which in effect prevented him from returning to the assembly chambers.
I went upstairs and I was told I couldn't go into the chamber until I was tested with a PCR test. But I said, I had just tested in the morning. You know, I'm vaccinated, I tested in the morning, and so forth. Why do I have to test again? And they said, oh, well, this is a new requirement here. We did a PCR test for the session on Monday. But of course, the protocols, the requirements seem to be changing every day to suit the government. Whatever is in development, they seem to be adjusting. So yesterday was just a bridge too far because we simply had tested the morning. All of our members had tested negative. They were ready to participate. 3 of our members were told they can't participate, even though they had tested negative, because they've been exposed to Camilo when he was speaking on Monday, because they had been in the chamber when he was speaking on Monday. Even though on Monday he should have been tested and found not to be positive, you know, and therefore they said they could not participate, even though they had tested Tuesday and found to be negative. That puts them at us at a great disadvantage. It certainly would prevent them, or would have prevented them from participating in the debate during the week, and that's something that they really wanted to do, and I want them to do, and their constituents want them to do.
On the 2022 fiscal package, the opposition leader said the COVID-19 pandemic and the eruption of La Soufrière volcano exposed the serious economic problems facing the country. In responding to the 2020 budget, Dr. Friday said the finance minister wants people to believe that the economic problems in the country are because of the pandemic and the volcanic eruption. But that is not the case, as there has been anemic economic growth over the years.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as I said earlier in the outset, that we are in deep trouble. We've been saying this for some time, that the economy of the country was misaligned, that what they were focusing on wasn't bringing growth and sustainability going forward. The minister will want us to believe that all of our economic problems now are as a result of the pandemic and the volcanic eruption. That is when things hit the fan, so to speak. That is not the case. Those economic problems were there long before COVID, and this was evident in the fact that the very year, 2019, we've cited this many times because it shows that prior to the pandemic, that we had serious problems. In 2019, the growth rate in the St. Vincent economy was 0.4%. That's the worst of the OECS. And for the 5 years leading up to 2019, the economy grew, or 2018, by an average of 1.5%. That is anemic.
Dr. Friday also noted that there is a lack of diversification in the economy, and the budget provides little to address the issue.
The pandemic showed that St. Vincent and the Grenadines economy wasn't going anywhere. We have high unemployment. This is, again, a continuing structural problem. That we perhaps have the highest unemployment in the OECS. The IMF in a study back in 2018, in its Article 4 consultation, said that, 2018 or 2017, that the unemployment rate in St. Vincent and Grenadines is somewhere around 30%, I believe. And for young people between the ages of 15 and 24, it was 46%. Well, a lot higher than that now. The report said that the unemployment rate in this country was high. I think 25%, 26% overall, and 30% for women.
The opposition leader said while agriculture must remain the pillar of the economy, the government should look at other areas in which poverty can be reduced to meet the needs of the people.
But we have to look for other areas in which we can make a living, provide jobs, meet the needs of our people, reduce poverty. There's no better way to reduce poverty than to create jobs and give people a chance to work for themselves. Handouts are good and people will take them, but government's ability to do so are constrained. And what's more, who could pay a mortgage and a handout from government, you know? Who could send a child to school or take care of a health bill with a handout from government? So the point is, it's inadequate. Though for some people, it is a lifeline. And I understand that, but offer them a job. And the vast majority of those people, because our people are hardworking, and they have the dignity, they don't like to beg.
The Health Services Subcommittee of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, in a news release this afternoon, said no new applications for fully vaccinated events for the period January 12th to February 12th, 2022 will be accepted at this time. The committee is also reminding the public that the mass gathering protocols for indoor and outdoor gatherings, maximum of 10 persons indoors, 20 persons outdoors, and 1/3 of the place of worship's capacity are still in effect. These gatherings, the subcommittee said, include but are not limited to clubs, bars, restaurants, wedding, funerals, conference rooms, churches, and private gatherings. The committee said in view of the confirmed presence of the Delta, Mu, Gamma, and Omicron variants in the community and a significant increase in the number of new infections and transmission, strict enforcement and compliance with all protocols is required. As such, the committee said the revised protocol for fully vaccinated events, once restarted, will now include the following: fully vaccinated first and second doses and 2 weeks, and a booster shot for all eligible patrons, vendors, and health and security personnel, and a negative antigen test taken no more than 24 hours prior to the event at an approved testing site or by a Ministry of Health approved testing team. The Health Services Subcommittee said it will continue to be guided by the ever-evolving science as they work together with the public to maintain the health and well-being of all here in SVG. In other news, the Office of Invest SVG will be relocating to Argyle as the agency looks to rebrand and bring more investment and job opportunities to SVG in 2022. Executive Director of Invest SVG, Annette Mack, is excited of the prospects that await Vincentians, noting that investors are interested in many areas, including tourism and medicinal cannabis.
A lot of interest right now, definitely, in medicinal cannabis and psychedelics. There's interest in tourism. I've had a number of inquiries in respect to islands, whether they're islands for sale in St. Vincent, and we are trying now to kind of put persons together. That's another area that we will be pushing. I mean, I got a call yesterday from someone and asked if we have any islands for sale, and we will be pushing that in Dubai. And I said definitely. So we're trying to gather some more information and just get contact persons that we need to speak to. We've been trying to do that for the last week now. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there. There are inquiries. There are certain things I'm seeing in the pipeline that we really hope will come to fruition down the road. Yeah.
Max said that Invest SVG is also working on creating more than 1,000 job opportunities, which will form part of the pandemic post-recovery.
A number of things that will happen, and you will see. Under the strategic plan, there's going to be a new agency completely. We're looking to rebrand the entire agency. We're going to be moving to more trade and investment rather than just investment. And when I say trade and investment, I mean export development and export promotion along those lines. So we look forward to this year and the changes that will be happening. And right now we are in talks with the Caribbean Development Bank for the implementation of that, to assist us with financing us for the implementation of that plan. It's a 5-year strategic plan that basically sets out a roadmap for Invest SVG, and also it sets out what our objectives for the next 5 years. So I mean, under the plan, we want to increase jobs by create 1,000 jobs, bring in, I think it was $145 million US in investment.
The executive director further added that an investment bill and policies are being drafted, which will strengthen existing legislation to attract more foreign investors.
Benefiting from that, we're going to have a nice office, a great office, state-of-the-art office for our investors when they come in. It really, first impression does count, so it really will show the seriousness of our government when it comes to foreign direct investment and investments on a whole. There's an investment act. There are 2 investment acts that have been drafted. One has been drafted already, and there will be another one that will strengthen the position of Invest SVG and empower it to do more when it comes to dealing with investors. And also there is our strategic plan that was done, was completed late last year through funding of the Caribbean Development Bank.
In some police news now, we hear that Afi Solin, a 17-year-old student of Green Hill, and Faith De Silva, a 12-year-old student of Old Montrose, have been arrested and charged with the offense of wounding. The students are accused of unlawfully and maliciously wounding a 24-year-old tattoo artist of Green Hill by stabbing him about his body with a knife. The incident occurred at Lodge Village on Friday, January 17, 2022. The accused appeared before the Serious Offences Court on Wednesday, January 12th, to answer the charge and pleaded guilty. They were remanded into custody until Friday, January 14, 2022 for sentencing. Meanwhile, the police have arrested and charged Chanel Cottle Harry, a 40-year-old unemployed of Canawan, with the offense of grievous bodily harm. The accused allegedly unlawfully and maliciously inflicted grievous bodily harm on a 54-year-old businessman of Canawan by chopping him on his left hand and back with a cutlass. The incident occurred at Bar Bruce, Canawan on July 18, 2021. Harry appeared before the Serious Offences Court on Wednesday for arraignment and pleaded guilty to the offense. A bail was granted in the sum of $2,500 with one surety. She was also ordered not to have any contact with the virtual complainant and will reappear in court for sentencing in February.